So, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Turn 5 podcast with myself and Ben. And this week we will be going over all of the action from the F1, the F2, and the F3 at the Imola Grand Prix, as well as making our predictions ahead of a first ever type of its event at Monaco. We'll come on to that later. For now, Ben, what did you think of the race?
Meh.
It was another Imola classic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was alright. Nothing special.
I was going to say, I watched the start and then promptly fell back asleep and then woke up at the end. And
Yeah, but there wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. The strategy did come into it, so I suppose it wasn't like the dullest of the dull.
yeah.
And there was a safety car at the end, I suppose, so that also brought some excitement.
Yeah, but by the looks of it, nothing really changed from it, you know?
No, but ultimately it changed absolutely sort of all. But apart from the fact you have Fernando Men on the radio, which is quite fun.
That was, yeah, he was less than pleased, as was Charles. I think they were in the same sort of boat with their rants this week, but yeah. So overall, another Imola classic. What do we have? We had Max Verstappen absolutely sending it round the outside of the Tamburello chicane at lap 1.
They just ended the race there, really.
Yeah, that was pretty much the last time anyone saw him, except until the safety car got in, and then he drove off again.
Yeah.
So yeah, Red Bull brought a raft of upgrades this week. They weren't the only team to do so. Aston Martin also brought. Sorry, I've just seen a team statement from Alpine, so I just want to sort of like derail this because this was 3 hours ago. As an F1 team, we believe we are fortunate to be part of a global sport that evokes great passion and emotions with an ever-growing community of fans who enthusiastically follow their favourite driver's every move, whether it be a brave overtake on track or what style they are sporting when they arrive in the paddock. We encourage everyone to remember that behind the visor of these superhuman athletes there is a person, an individual with feelings, family, friends and loved ones. As a team, we cannot condone online abuse and urge all fans of the sport we love to be kind and respectful. What have I missed? One of the top comments. If you stop changing drivers every 5 races and start respecting them, it would be nice as well. I was going to find the FIA's post because they did a post about all the different upgrades that the teams bring. Tech upgrades. So, Ferrari brought a new rear corner for performance and their C-spec rear wing and beam wing. McLaren brought their C-spec rear wing and beam wing, changed their front suspension for reliability, and their rear corner for performance. Red Bull's tech upgrades were all performance based, and that was the engine cover, the rear suspension, and the rear corner. Mercedes were 2 performance upgrades, front suspension and front wing, and 1 circuit specific upgrade, which was the engine cover. Aston Martin, all performance upgrades, and that was the halo, the floor body, the floor fences, the floor edge, the diffuser, the engine cover, and the beam wing. They've basically brought a new car.
They needed it. So,
well, yeah. You know. I mean, it worked in quali. So
it worked for the first stint of the race.
Yeah. Alpine brought a new front wing for performance and a new engine cover for performance. Haas brought 5 performance upgrades: floor body, floor edge, diffuser, rear corner, and rear suspension. RB brought 2 performance upgrades: the floor body and the engine cover. So yeah, pretty much everyone bringing a little something to the table there. So let's talk about Aston Martin then, seeing as they've brought 7 upgrades. They managed to outqualify both Ferraris, which would on first glance bode quite well, but as Fernando Alonso rightly pointed out, they should probably wait for more than one circuit to say that the upgrades are actually working and it's not just a circuit specific fluke.
Yeah. Let's see when they go to Spain, I suppose, because that's quite a mixed track.
Yeah, we kind of have to rule out Monaco because it's just too unique. It's too different.
The Ferraris are suddenly going to go from like the 6th best car to being the best car by 6/10, and you're like, what on earth's going on?
Yeah. So, but then they're not going to start the race because they forgot to change the gearbox. Or they tried to risk it with a dodgy gearbox and it died. So, who knows?
That curse is broke now, so...
Well, this is true, yeah. Is it broke, or is it just coming back for round 2?
True.
What if it's like he wins it once and then he never wins it again?
That's it now, yeah.
What else actually happened in the race?
Right, so... Verstappen sends it on Piastri, beautiful move, lovely jubbly. Lando sends it around George in a decent move, and then George, I think, or Charles pit first around lap 12 or something.
Yeah, the commentary said Charles was the first to pull the trigger and go for it.
It must have been Charles, and then Russell must have pit the lap after or something. They're quite close to each other when they pit. And then it suddenly looked like the undercut was going to be like, whoa, hello. So then Piastri pit, which he probably shouldn't have done. Because at that point, Charles was catching up to the traffic. And you could see quite, within 3 or 4 laps, you could see that it wasn't going to work.
Just because of the traffic.
Just to stay, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those circuits, isn't it? I mean, having just rewatched all of the F2 and F3 action for the weekend and watched all the highlight videos, basically, most of the highlight video is from the Tamburello chicane. Gives you an idea of how hard it is to overtake at the circuit.
If you didn't overtake within the first, what was it, 4 or 5 turns?
Just
then
wait.
That lap's done.
Yeah. You're just stuck
till the next lap.
Hamilton was stuck behind Antonelli for a long while.
Yeah, it took him the whole first and part of the second. Put on the mediums, and suddenly he's like, ding, see you later.
What I found kind of funny was the fact that Oscar just cruised up to the back of Hamilton, past Hamilton, and then just passed Antonelli straight away.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's how you do it, old man. And then Hamilton eventually got Antonelli afterwards, but it wasn't until a fair way through the race, really. So
yeah, it must have been 30 or so, 20-ish. And then Lando boxed and it came out just in front of Charles. A few seconds up the road, and then Ocon brought out the safety car.
No, Ocon brought out the VSC. Says he stopped on lap 27. Antonelli was the one that brought out the full safety car. That was on lap 44.
30 odd. 40, Jesus.
So, yeah, unfortunate for him, because that was basically like his backyard race.
Yeah.
and he had a lot of his friends and schoolmates there. But yeah, it just wasn't to be for him with a mechanical failure. I didn't actually get any word on what that was. I didn't watch Ted's notebooks, so
no idea.
Yeah, it just looked like something in the power unit gave up.
Yeah,
which is pretty much the same as what happened with Ocon.
Yeah, so it felt quite similar to Ocon's. Did cause a bit of excitement within McLaren though, because it meant Lando was behind Piastri on newer tyres. So what would happen there? Seeing as if you let Lando pass, he can have a run at Verstappen. But then they're also in a title fight, so why would Piastri let Lando pass?
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's one of those ones, isn't it? Do you want the race win or do you want the championship fight? So,
I know if you want the win, it's probably the wrong thing to do. However, you just can't say to the championship leader,
get out of the way.
Can you let the teammate pass?
Yeah. Can you let your closest rival through, please?
Like, can you imagine Nico Rosberg letting Hamilton pass? Not a chance.
No. So, yeah, it's another one of those ones that, this is a situation that McLaren find themselves in where they've got the fastest car and two competent drivers.
Well,
on occasion.
3/4. 3/4. Two competent Sunday drivers. Let's put it that way.
Let's just compare it to Red Bull, okay, and how they had the fastest car and they had a competent driver.
Yeah.
Okay, it was still good enough for Sergio to finish second, but he had a whole championship gap between himself and Max. So,
bring back Perez. Sorely missed.
Truly. Yeah, I suppose we shouldn't miss the fact that Tsunoda had a very big off in quali, and therefore started from the pit lane.
Yes.
Tsunoda himself called it stupid and needless, which, to be fair, yes. First run in Q1.
And then Colapinto done it as well.
Yeah, Colapinto, classic. Not the way you want to rejoin the F1 paddock, is it? But that's what you get. It's rough. He's always going to be facing extra scrutiny because obviously he's replaced someone.
Yeah, it's not really the fault of his own. It's the fault of the teams.
It's Flavio. Let's be honest. He made the decision. So, what was it? I control you every millimeter to Jack Doohan. So, sit in the reserve seat. But yeah, so those two crashed out. That was the only two red flags in quali, I think. Yeah. Big rework on Tsunoda's car, obviously, after such a big shunt. Good to see he just was able to get out and walk away from it.
Mental.
So, yeah. Did you see speaking of big crashes, did you see Indy 500 quali?
What, the Colton?
Yeah, Colton Herta. That was a big one.
I've seen the clip of it. I didn't watch it live.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch the race
live, but I won't watch the quali.
That's fair. Yeah, that was a big shunt.
Yeah.
So aero screen doing its job there. What else have we got? Tsunoda actually did, I'd say, a reasonable job, all things considered.
He's got a point.
He scored a point from the pit lane.
Not bad.
So, I mean, from the pit lane, that's a circuit like Imola. That's probably about the best you can hope for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bottom end of the points.
Right, I don't really know what to expect at Monaco, though. Quite difficult.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Because it's a tight circuit, and like an inch out of place, and you're in the barrier.
Yeah,
and it's.
Then I feel like
78 laps of that.
Sort of have no expectation in Monaco, but then bring it back for Spain and be like, right.
Spain is one that everyone knows. Yeah.
Then, yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a good result. But, you know.
We'll see.
Who knows?
We will see. Yes. I'm trying to think. Let's cover off the predictions then, shall we? Let's get that out of the way while I think about it. So, pole and podiums. Ben, you won this week.
Get on.
You got 6 points for putting Norris and Piastri in the correct positions on the podium.
Beautiful.
Myself and Sonia both got 5 points through various means, and Chris got 3 points. Mel and Nia did not enter, so did not score. I haven't actually updated the championship standings, so I'll have to do that for next week, because I haven't done it after the last race either. Lol.
Who was leading?
2 rounds ago, it was Sonia by 2 points.
Alright, okay.
But then you scored quite well last time out, so I think you would have moved into the lead. So you've probably just extended your lead.
Yeah.
I think you're on top. Bold predictions. Hey, yo. Ben, you said Tsunoda in the top 8. Close, but no coconut. Chris said less than 15 overtakes after lap 1. I don't really know on that one.
What? Sorry, I was the sexual innuendos got to me.
Chris said that there'd be less than 15 overtakes after lap 1.
There's probably more because people are doing 2 stops.
Yeah, but like it's got to be on track though. That's the thing. Going past someone in the pits doesn't really count. So we'll say he hasn't got that one.
I think there was more. Yeah.
Mel said Max DNF. He did not.
I don't know. You let Max dominate the whole fucking week.
Yeah. Nia said a Stroll perfect weekend. I say Nia said. Chris put that one in for her.
Sure.
And I said
to finish 15th.
That's a pretty perfect weekend for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he did qualify in the top 10 as well, so
that is Stroll.
And I said that George would have a pit stop of at least 4 seconds.
George would have a pit stop.
Yeah.
That's
pretty bold. That's pretty bold. I think for this week, I'm going to say that George is going to have at least 2 pit stops. And for lap down showdown, I mean, Ben, you were kind of closest, but yeah, nobody really got anywhere close this week. The only thing that you got closest was the laps. Everyone got the driver wrong, and obviously with the late safety car. Huh?
Did I bully Stroll again? Or...
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So did I. Yeah, there was Strolls, Bortolettos, and Hulkenbergs, but it was Ollie Behrman who got lapped on lap 33 and finished 0 laps down, courtesy of the late safety car. Ben, you were closest on the lap. You said 31, and nobody said 0 laps down. So, let's cover off the Formula 2 and Formula 3 action then, shall we? Do my general quick recap. Formula 2 and Formula 3.
One thing before you go into that.
Oh, yeah.
The British F4 are following at Silverstone.
Oh,
so there's F1, F2, F3, and F4.
Bloody hell.
And no Porsche Supercar.
Good. I mean, what?
Disgusting.
Right. F2 we'll start with. I believe this is... So we're going back to back in F2 and F3. I think we've got triple headers. Is Spain the third round?
F2's triple header.
Yeah, F3's in Spain as well, so... triple headers for both.
My God.
It's a busy time for me. Okay, now. Dino Beganovic took pole in Formula 2 by 0.003 of a second. So, ahead of Sebastian Montoya in second, ahead of Victor Martins in third, 6 thousandths off the lead. So, yeah. Crazy that 3 drivers were separated by 6 thousandths of a second. Roman Stanek was in 12th. Wait, no, it's top 10 for Ryotomo Miata was in 10th and therefore got reverse grid pole. I think it's 10th, isn't it? Oh god, I can't remember now. Anyway, the sprint race was reasonably clean. A little bit of bumps and barge, a little bit of end plates going here and there, but only one DNF, and that was Richard Verschoor, who pulled into the pit lane a couple of laps before the end. It just looked like a mechanical issue, to be honest. But the sprint race was won by Jack Crawford ahead of Arvid Lindblad and Luke Browning. The feature race was...
It's 10th on pole.
10th on pole, okay, good. I got it right, that's fine. image saved. The feature race was won by Alex Dunn ahead of Luke Browning and Dino Beganovic. So the standings are as follows. Dunn now takes the lead in the championship on 64 points. Luke Browning is in second on 58 points. Richard Verschoor is on third on 55 points. Leonardo Fornaroli, however, is still keeping himself interested, having still not won a race. He's in fourth on 52 points. This is the one I'm keeping an eye on, because if he can go back-to-back champions without winning a race, that's going to be mad.
This is what we want.
Obviously, F2 will be back this weekend in Monaco, and they'll have the niche split group qualifying format that we have around the streets of Monaco. F3... Oh, actually, it should be said, in the feature race, Sebastian Montoya was on the front row, stalled it on the formation lap. Yeah. And then they got away, and Victor Martins stalled it on the actual race start. Jesus. And he was fourth. So, yeah. Victor Martins was in a position where he could have, if he'd won the race, he would have taken the championship lead. But he stalled. So that's a rough go for him. Formula 3. Ronaldo. Brazilian Ronaldo was in attendance.
I thought you were about to say driving or something.
No, but like, how wild is that? He supports Rafael Camara.
Oh, mad.
Yeah. Santiago Ramos was... Rafael Camara, also put it on pole. Continuing his...
Gloriana. Honestly.
Yeah, I know. Continuing his excellent form in Formula 3 this season. Santiago Ramos finished qualified second, and Noah Stromstead qualified third, all within a quarter of a second of Kamara's time. Kamara was over 2/10 clear of second place, so that was a pretty dominant lap. The sprint race, we only had 27 finishes in the sprint race. Tramnitz.
Surely that's only like 30.
There's 30 cars, so we lost 3.
Not bad.
It's not bad going for a circuit as tight as. Tim Tramnitz won the sprint race ahead of Bruno Dalpino and Nikola Solov. there was like plenty of argy-bargy in the midfield. I mean, it's Formula 3, so like we could sit here and talk all day about how each individual overtake was happening in everybody's race, but
that's illegal. Actually, that's the thing we didn't speak of. The fact
the Charles
pushed Alex.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute. Ahead of his home race, but what I do want to talk about actually briefly is the feature race. So in the opening stage, obviously Kamara was on pole. In the opening stages, Ramos got ahead and led for a bit, and then Kamara got back past. And for a long time, it was very clear that Ramos had more pace, but was choosing to close the DRS flap early on the way into Tamburello. So he didn't overtake, and then about 3 laps from the end, sent it.
Made his move.
Yeah. Wild. All the while, though, Noah Stromstead was absolutely charging through. Where did he qualify? See, it says he's qualified third, but he definitely dropped back through the order at the start and then came flying back. Because he had the fastest lap for a long point and was just streaming through. But then after Kamara got overtaken by Ramos, Kamara then made a little mistake in Aqua Minerale and basically just let Stromstead through without much of a fight, as per a little bit of team radio there. It's quite rare in Formula 3 to hear like team play out like that. But Stromstead was definitely the faster car at that point and probably needed one more lap. I think if the race was 1 lap longer, Stromstead probably could have won it because he was right behind Ramos coming over the line.
I think he just had a rough start because it looks like the lowest he was 5th.
Yeah.
Started 3rd, so.
Yeah, got jumped in the Tamburello chicane. Yeah. But it's quite common, mid-pack you gain a couple, lose a couple, easily done, so. Right, let's talk about Charlie boy.
Naughty.
Oh, actually, wait, hang on, I've got to do the standings. Kamara missed out on the opportunity to make history. He could have been the first rookie to join the Formula 3 series and win their first 3 feature races. So, unlucky there. Finished 3rd in the end. But he still leads the championship. He's on 73 points. Noah Stromstead moves into 2nd on 52. Tim Tramnitz is in 3rd on 48. And then Tappanen is in 4th on 36, and Ramos is in 5th on 35. And we're already up to 33 drivers in the series. Good old driver swaps in Formula 3. You can't keep them down. So, right. Yes, Charlie Boy shoveled out Alex into the gravel. What do you think of that?
I'm so split on it. I don't know. Right, the thing, I need to see Charles' angle on it, because I don't know if he's purposely ran. I still don't know, even speaking about it now.
It's a very borderline one, isn't it?
So on the fine line of Alex deserves space because he's obviously there. But then it's still Charles' corner, so then, yeah, this is
another situation where if we had the written agreement that the drivers see of what dictates whose corners and when,
yeah,
because we hear about it all the time, but it's not published anywhere.
Yeah, but I'd say Alex definitely deserved a run because he was. I'd say he might not have been far enough alongside on like the written rules, as you would say. He was far enough alongside in like as you could see, like he at least had his rear wheels up tight to Charles and all.
Yeah, the problem with the way that I think it's worded is that it only takes a snapshot, doesn't it? Like it's all about positioning at the apex. But what Max proved is that you can just absolutely yeet yourself into oblivion, but you're at the apex, so it's fine. And then they changed it. Now we're getting into a point of we need to look at like the relative trajectories almost, and the velocities of the car at that point to dictate whether or not they're within the usual parameters. Because obviously, if Charles has just let off the brakes and therefore steamed into the apex with an extra 20 kilometers an hour, then the stewards can go, well, he's done that deliberately, and like more space therefore needed to be given to Alex because he's done that in an attempt to get himself further ahead at the apex.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what Max was doing on the outside. He was just letting off the brakes and running through. But yeah, I think it's a tricky one. It's look, as you say, Alex deserved more space, but either way, I feel kind of hard done by, don't you?
Yeah, if you're Charles, you do feel sort of hard done by, but then
if you're Alex and Charles doesn't get the penalty, you feel hard done by because you were there.
Yeah.
So
and then you don't want the car on the outside to be given the space all the time, because otherwise everyone's just going to
go around the outside.
Yeah. And the thing that makes an outside move so good is the fact they're so rare.
Yeah. Because they're hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tricky one. I want to see what the actual FIA document says on it. No, not Fiat.
I know. Yeah, they sort of noted it, and then they said the stewards were going to investigate, and then Ferrari were like, Charles, let him pass. Shit.
Yeah, when they say they're going to investigate, it's like, oh, do your thing. Decision. Here we go. The decision was no further action. Obviously, because he let him back through. So the stewards reviewed positioning, marshalling system data, video timing, and inter-car video evidence, and determined that it was alleged that car 16 forced car 23 off the track at the exit of turn 2. However, before we could conclude our investigations, car 16 voluntarily gave the position back to mitigate the alleged breach. In the circumstances, we took no further action. So basically, because he let him through, we wiped our hands of it, and we made it their problem. So
it's fair.
Yeah. I mean, when they say they're going to investigate something, that's kind of their signal that you're probably up shit creek.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Right. Monaco. Slightly different. The first time ever the FIA are mandating a minimum of 2 pit stops during the race. Is it going to change anything? No, said everyone at once.
Unless somehow everyone gets Valtteri Bottas pit stops.
True. Watch it now rain, and it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, there's two. There's either Valtteri Bottas pit. This is if it's dry.
Yeah.
Valtteri Bottas pit stops or Ferrari strategy.
Oh, yeah.
They're the two things that could turn this race upside down.
Ferrari sent one strategist undercover into every other team to botch everything. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I don't really think the issue is the circuit. I think the issue is the size of the car.
The size of the car has always been the issue.
So, I mean, but you look at like Formula 2 and Formula 3. Formula 3 particularly, there's overtakes.
Yeah, I think Formula 2 is slowing down.
Yeah.
I feel
the cars are
overtakes,
bigger.
But the cars are slowly, yeah.
They're trying to like, oh, we're the step to F1. It's like, it doesn't mean you need to make the car bigger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's still overtakes in F2. They're not as commonplace as they used to be with this generation of car compared to the last.
Yeah.
But Formula 3, banging.
Beautiful.
So, Ben, pole position.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
I heard alert, and for the life of me, thought you were about to say Lance Stroll.
No, I was either Ferrari or Verstappen. I wasn't sure.
Me and Sonia have both gone for Verstappen.
Yeah.
Who's your podium?
I'm gonna say Verstappen, Hamilton, Piastri.
Okay. Sonia has said Verstappen, Piastri, Norris. And I have gone for a carbon copy of this weekend's result of Verstappen, Norris, Piastri.
Nice.
For my bold prediction, I've said that Colapinto will crash in quali and the race.
That's gonna go down well.
Especially after reading out that Alpine team statement.
Yeah.
Hey, look. He's a rookie. He's not done F1 round Monaco before. So, and he's in a different team than he drove most of his races in. That's my thought process. Nothing against him. It's just the fact that he lacks experience around these streets in that vehicle.
There's quite a few, actually. So how many? I said like 5 rookies on the grid.
Six, yeah.
So I'd say
because you've got
3 rookie DNFs.
3 rookie DNFs. So you've got Antonelli, Behrman, Hadjar. What was Doohan but is now Colapinto.
Yeah.
Bortoletto. And who's the 6th that I'm missing?
Fernando Alonso.
The young upstart rookie.
Liam
Lawson, of course. So you want 3 of those. 3 rookie DNF. For triple points, name them.
Behrman. I'm sorry, Ollie, but Haas is gonna conk out. I'll have to say Franco as an Alpine. And then I'll say Hadjar.
No! I destroyed the car! Classic moment there. Lap down showdown. Now bear in mind 2 pit stops. There are 78 laps.
This car is now 4 laps down.
Diabolical.
I can't wait for one of the back markers to do the 2 stop in the first 2 laps. And that's it.
Actually mad idea. Why not? Does the first lap, pit stop, open air. Does the second lap, pit stop, even more open air. Slap the hard tyres on, go to the end.
Go to the end, win the race.
I might just send an email to Andrea. Let's send an email to Andrea. Just be like, yeah, have you thought of this? Have you considered this option? There's probably somewhere in their stipulation that says the minimum stint is 5 laps or something.
The leader having to pit to stop Ocon on a huge undercut.
Oh God! Right. So who are you picking?
Lap down. Yeah, I'd say Bortoletto. I kept him in the race.
I've also said Bortoletto, so we're in good company there. How many laps are you going to go for?
That's a 3 DNFs. So I'd say 1 lap. 1 lap down.
And on
you
what
get
lap?
Lapped on lap 42.
42. Okay, I said Bortoletto would get lapped on 36 and he'd finish 2 laps down. We will see. Unless there's any other news which I've forgotten about, which there probably is. Can you think of anything? Otherwise, I'm going to call it.
Nah, just call it. I don't...
Cool. In which case, thank you for listening and or watching. Please join us again at the same time next week when we will discuss all of the Monaco action from the Formula 1, the Formula 2 and the Formula 3, as well as making our predictions ahead of the final trip to Barcelona before the Madrid, the Mad Ring. Mad. Anyway, yes, thank you for listening and or watching, and until next time, goodbye.